Hallo. Ready?
Okay. Ik kan wel iets in het Nederlands zeggen, dan you know what I'm talking about if I say some stuff in Dutch.
You should definitely say some stuff in Dutch.
Ja, zou ik iets moeten... Ik kan van alles vertellen. Over Eindhoven of waar we zijn. Ik ben hier nooit geweest. Ik ben nog nooit op een podcast geweest. Dus ik ben echt heel benieuwd.
Yes, I hope he said something very nice.
Oh, sure. Don't say bad things.
No.
Try to.
I'd like to introduce you. Darko from Oneness Tattoo is here. I really appreciate you making the effort. Vincent Penning told me lots about you.
Okay.
All good things.
Okay.
Yeah. But I guess I want to start out just asking you how long you've been in Tilburg.
Yeah, my shop is in Tilburg.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about half an hour away by train. And I don't have a driver's license, so I take the train every day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I like it. I like to not work in the city where I live because you have a transition period from where you live to where you work. You know, you set your mind to it a little bit and stuff. I like that.
So where are you living now?
In Eindhoven.
Oh, you are
now, yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect. Because I was just thinking like, oh man, I had you take a train from...
No problem. I would gladly take a train for this, yeah.
I appreciate it.
But I just came by my bicycle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. How long have you been at this, working as an artist, tattooer?
As a tattooer, last year I think was my 25th year. I didn't really do anything to celebrate it, but I've always been drawing. I knew from when I was 10 or something, I knew the drawing, that should be it. You know, it was like the other stuff I got at school was alright. Like I found out I could draw all day, every day. And I said, oh, well, if I can do that, might as well get, most out of it.
Right.
And I was really fortunate to have a family that supported that. There's a couple of artists in my family. Both my grandfathers were painters, especially my mom's dad. He was a painter, interior designer, and also he basically lived off the antiques he bought and sold. And so he was into African and Asian art. I had it always around me, like good Asian art, not like the cheap plastic stuff, but like real stuff. Yeah. And once you encounter that, and it's been around you, you feel it. There's a thing where you feel that it's old and real, and there's dedication into the art, which is, and for me it was great, but it's also a bad thing because, it's really difficult to be happy with the cheap stuff then later in life. But that kind of set me on the path where I'm now anyway.
Right. And so when you were starting to draw, it was something that they really kind of saw in you and kind of helped cultivate as well, or is it?
No, sure, definitely. There was no one ever said, what are you doing? Go play outside, Right. They always supported, were enthusiastic about my efforts, and that's great.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have something similar with my mother, because I would always just draw, and like you, I was always just losing myself drawing, and like hours and hours would pass. But it was funny, from a very young age, she saw that and would say like, oh, you're going to be an artist one day. And so in me, it was almost like trained in me, like there was no other thing I was going to do. It was going to be something art related. But it was just like no plan B. But
no, there you go. No plan B for me, same. Yeah. My parents also always were very engaged, and my dad found out I like comic books and he liked them too, so we started collecting them. Yeah. It's always been around me, and so I drew a lot of comic books, and later I didn't draw any book, but that style. And later I got into graffiti, which is, a free form of expression in some way. Right. And they never stopped me in that. They said, okay, if you're going to go out tonight, please tell us, because if we get a phone call 3 a.m. from the police, we know where you were. It's not a surprise for us. Right. So in my mind, I was allowed to do it, which is not really true, but that was really great. That the graffiti thing is, when you're young, is amazing. And then later, I don't know, I had some friends who got in a band, and they So I was in a band for a little bit, but also like the art stuff and shirts and stickers, and we design ourselves, and so all kinds of forms,
different outlets and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's
great.
incredible. What you were saying earlier about the graffiti is, I did a lot of graffiti as well growing up, but I kind of wanted to do something a little bit different because I wasn't very good at it. What I would do is like paint these planks of wood and then drill them into street signs.
Oh, yeah?
And then they were all this like weird abstract types of painting, almost like space scenes in a way.
Okay.
But I kind of got inducted into different graffiti crews because of it. And so people from different crews would write their crew and then arrows to the artwork.
Oh, the stuff you put up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And my father was really funny. He goes, he's like, "What are you guys up to tonight?" Like, we're going to get into some bad stuff. And he's like, "All right, well, don't get caught."
Yeah, okay. That's nice.
That was the best advice from my dad.
Yeah, that's the best one.
But that's typically him. But that's great. And getting into tattooing, was it kind of a natural kind of progression, or was it something that you found yourself into?
I did a couple of schools that were related to drawing and artistic stuff. I went to a like graphical design, commercial, how do you say, art for commercials?
Yeah, commercial
advertising, that kind of stuff. But that was like the school was really strict and too technical. I think it was more free. And then I got into art school, and that was like super free, like art, museum stuff. Yeah, that was great to have a good time there, and you could do anything you'd like, and it was great parties. And I had a job in the morning just to load trucks or something, but I had to get up really early. And then when I was finished about 10 or something, I could go to school because there was nobody keeping track of on art school if you were there or not.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, Vince.
Yeah, we're in the middle of things, but it's all good. We can edit you out.
Yeah.
But I think we should keep you in.
I had a tattoo or two, and I started hanging out at the tattoo studio, which just moved to Eindhoven, and instead of going to school. I tell this story a lot of times, but I found out that in the tattoo shop, you could draw monsters and hot women. It would be great,
No one would judge you.
No, and art school they do. They don't like that stuff, right? It has to be abstract and all very thought about and not very spectacular. It has to be the other way, right? So I started hanging out there a little bit and drawing. The guy Greg, who is a pretty significant tattooer in the area, or maybe the significant tattooer here.
Right.
Yeah, he was looking over my shoulder at his drawings, and also the way that there's people in a tattoo shop. There's people waiting for art. If you're an artist, like a high art artist, you have to get the stuff out of yourself, and you have no idea if somebody's waiting for that stuff.
Yeah.
But in the tattoo shop, there were people waiting. It was like, okay, make this. I have money. Also interacting with people. I think it's not a very popular stance, I think, these days, but I love people. So the idea of being, secluding yourself in your studio and just, lock yourself into a painting and not have any outside contact, that was never very appealing to me.
Yeah, it's hard on you. I actually have a part of my life where I was doing that. So I tattooed for maybe 10 years or so, and then I decided to have a go at painting and selling in galleries. And
that's interesting.
And it was that same thing. It's like you produce 30 paintings every 6 months. And then
were they big?
Yeah, they were probably like I don't know in centimeters, but like 16 by 20 inches and bigger. So decent size.
Yeah, okay. The same also the space stuff, or you moved on?
No, this was like refined, like classical art. Classical oil painting. Yeah.
Great.
But it was very difficult to then like work and not get paid.
No, yeah, that's
and then have a show where you put money into, and then
hope
maybe somebody's going to buy something.
Yeah.
But I did that. I did a good number of years to just see what it was like, and because that's another part of me, like an artistic outlet of me to do something on that side of art. But I don't think it was me in the long run because of what you were saying. You don't have that interaction with the client. It does get kind of lonely, and I realize that I definitely rely a lot on the client for confirmation of the design.
And inspiration too.
Yeah.
That's for me, that's a big thing for me. Just to kind of, I don't know, feel the person's vibe or just to feel the energy and connect with the people. Because it's a very intimate thing, that tattooing. And yeah, you have to be a certain person, I think. You have to be very strong-minded and have a very strong vision to work on that vision every day without any confirmation at the moment, And I find that artists, like you said, like the secluded artists, they have such a strong vision. They need it because they need to get up to work for this vision all the time. That they have really hard time hanging out with other artists because their vision is so strong. And you're that guy, you're making that paintings, but I think it's shit because I have to be so confident about your art to survive. That is really difficult to let anybody else's vision in, right?
Yeah.
And I love that. I love working with people and not exactly like impose my thing on them.
Right.
I like working with them.
Yeah, but I think it can also. It can make a stronger design when you work with other people, because then I look at like music and you see like great bands and they make great music, and then all of a sudden there's the solo album and you're like, that kind of just landed a little flat. It's not as good. Sure. So I think of it more like that, where you can get a lot more accomplished with more influence, more input, but somebody has to be like the driving force, the director. I think that's where we take in the inspiration of the person, and then we can actually execute the vision.
I see it more as a translator in some way. I think if you tattoo on somebody, the person is his or her own artwork. It's not my art on them. It's their ideas and their it has to come from them. So for me, it's really difficult, and I try really hard not to do it. To say, "Hey, man, you need a tattoo from me," right? But it has to come from them, and especially with tattooing. If I don't know if you ever had a tattoo you were talked into, but in the long run, you look at that thing, you think, "Fuck, I was talked into this." I don't know if I really wanted it, or that can backfire a little bit.
Right.
The urge has to come from the person wanting a tattoo. With the band, we can talk for hours about the difference and the similarities between the work we do and to be in a band. But you cannot be a drummer by yourself. It's really hard. It's really fucking boring too. or to play the trumpet, you need other people.
Right.
You ever make music?
When I was younger, I dabbled, but it was one of those things I was, again, not very good at.
No, okay.
But I very much enjoyed doing it. It was kind of like a morning ritual I would have.
Okay.
I would play drums and guitar in the morning.
But you were in a band with other people too?
No, I played with other friends that didn't play so well either. Okay. But we never actually joined or like started a band or made music. It was
but if you're together, you can get elevated by you can lift yourself higher than you could do by yourself.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've definitely like jammed and made a lot of noise, but never anything that I would consider beautiful music.
Did you jam on artwork though? You make artwork together with people?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Collaborated
right?
with people. Yeah,
because that could work with somebody, and it could totally not work.
Yeah, I've practiced. I got a couple things started with a few friends of mine.
Okay,
and I think the tough thing to do is to make it look like it's maybe one cohesive painting.
Yeah, like a third person.
Yeah,
that comes out.
Instead of it being like, oh, I did this corner and
split
you did
in
that.
the middle. Yeah.
But I
you
think
can do that too.
And I've been doing this with Saeed, who works with me at Royal. And we're working on a piece together where we're actually like correcting and readjusting each other's work.
That's great.
Well.
That's great. Yeah.
So it's like nothing is sacred. It's like if you see something that's screwed up, get rid of
it.
Fix it.
Yeah.
And so we kind of like leave our egos at the
that takes a special person to do it with, though, because you have to be a really big fan of the person.
Yeah.
If he fucks up your stuff, you think, oh well, but it's gonna be better. You know, if you have doubts, then it gets conflicted. But if you know, Jesus Christ, I dig everything this guy does, so fuck it up. It's gonna be better.
Yeah, I think I come from a different outlook where I'm like, theirs is going to be better than mine.
That's fine.
Like,
too,
yes,
think.
please, please
sure.
fix that, so I don't have to.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
It's really good training to keep the eye on the whole picture, and not on this thing that but this eye worked out so well, so you cannot fuck with it.
Right.
know?
But I'd like to do more of it. The unfortunate thing is that I just don't have a lot of time to dedicate it to it.
Okay.
We've been sitting on this drawing, Saeed and I, for a while, so we just got to find the time to do it. But
I was really lucky I worked a little bit with Luke Atkinson from the studio. That was he's an amazing artist. I stayed with him for a little bit, and I worked with him. I got quite a couple of tattoos from him. And we had a sheet of paper out where he would draw something, and we had two different color pencils. His was red and mine was purple. And he would draw part of a mask, and then I would add on to it. And then a couple of days later I look again, and he added on something next. So we added onto each other all the time, and then try to make a whole thing. That was very inspiring.
Yeah, I would see that. There was do you remember, I think it was probably the early 2000s, where people were doing a lot more of the collaborative tattooing and
art fusion stuff.
Yeah. I remember when that was coming out, the big thing that hit was like the 45 mag, and like everybody's going crazy.
It's really interesting. Sorry to interrupt you.
Fine.
Now Bill Salmon, and Salmon has passed, and I see a couple of pictures of a tattoo he did with Philip and
Luke,
and a bunch of guys. The guy's his name's Avery. He's got a really huge sort of Hanya face on his back,
right,
where he lifts his left arm. It's the horn of the Hanya, basically. So it's really, really big. And I met that guy. I saw that one time, and that blew me away. It's really good to see it again,
right?
Because it worked out, I think.
And how many guys worked on it in total?
I'm not really sure how many times at the same time they worked on. I think it got worked on over a couple of times, and but at least like 4 or 5 people. Yeah,
but it's super interesting. I already forgot my point. I don't think it's it's necessary. But yeah, I like that interaction because I think it's a way to kind of maybe shuffle the cards a little bit, shake it up so you can kind of look at something differently. I've always heard of David Bowie. He would write music and then like tear it up and kind of rearrange it so that he could see something in a different way and then produce something original out of it.
Yeah, I heard the same about Tom Waits. Maybe one of my favorite
I love Tom
artists. Waits. Yeah, I like that he's a category of his own. You know, it doesn't fit in anything. But I heard this. He goes into the studio with a woman. Maybe it's his woman. I'm not really sure. And she doesn't know anything about music. And she sits there reading the paper and it's like, just stop that. Do something else now. And so she takes him in direction he doesn't know beforehand and gets an unexpected twist. But with tattooing, it's really a weird experiment while you're tattooing, right?
Yeah, that's
weird. It's a how do you say, a brave thing to do. Yeah. Also for the client too.
I think more for the client because they have to wear it.
Sure. Yeah. But so it's really difficult to find people who actually are open to that and just experiment with tattooing, or that have two people work on, or more people work on the same piece.
Yeah. I think if I were to continue to do something like that and actually make it into tattooing, I think the approach would be to do it on paper first and kind of get more in that mindset so that by the time it gets to a permanent, tattoo, you kind of already worked out the work process. Because I don't think I'd want to like work out something as I'm trying to produce something permanent.
It's scary. Yeah, for sure. The thing is, Vince just came here. Before I used to call him Vince Fusion because I worked together with Jeroen Franke. He's a guy from Eindhoven.
Okay.
I'm not sure he's originally from here, but he lives here for a while now. And he's a tribal tattooer. He's amazing, top level guy. He really knows that stuff. It's in him. And to work with him, and Vince, he came in and he wanted a tattoo mixed from the both of us, which is really interesting because we have completely different styles, right? And but Vince was open for that experience, and we tried to incorporate it a little bit. It's not a crazy experimental thing, but we did some tribal patterns that went with the finger waves, and try to make it work together. Which is so Vince is a good example of a guy who is not afraid to go into that experience. I think it was probably his first tattoo where he wanted that. So that impressed me, I think.
Thinking ahead.
It's very nice of you to ask me for this podcast, because I'm very flattered. But I was like, what the fuck am I going to talk about? I don't know. But the one thing I found out that I couldn't get around it is to talk about Philip Blue, because for me, is a crazy big influence. But he is the guy who can do that. He can experiment and get people together to work on tattooing, sharing, like crazy. All the people I have encountered that I get tattooed from him, and especially tattooers, they're also super enthusiastic, and that the guy's so open about anything, a technique, or working together, or drawing together, and stuff like that. Yeah, he's a major influence in my way of looking at tattooing, basically.
Yeah, more so than just the artistic and the application of tattooing, but more like the way of life, or his philosophical approach, maybe? Or am I going too deep?
No. I can go as deep as you want. I love that stuff. We should be, try to steer away from that, because it couldn't get.
We can talk outside the podcast if you prefer.
Philip is a guy who is very open. I think that's the most impressive thing about it.
In my early days of tattooing, I was definitely majorly inspired by Philip Blue. And
they cannot be anything but inspired by that guy.
I was able to be introduced to him in a convention, so I didn't see a lot of his work before that convention, and I showed up and he was just drawing something on with colored pencils, and I'm just like, what's going on?
On a person?
Yeah, on a person. And so I don't think he's doing it anymore, but he was just like the watercolor.
I did on me. Yeah.
And then I just couldn't figure out what he was doing, and then all of a sudden he refines it, tattoos it, and it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And at the time,
what convention was?
This was in North Carolina. I think it was Little John convention in Gainesboro. I forget.
Okay.
It was probably 98 or 99, something like that. And it just blew me away. And then from that point on, I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, you're going to keep an eye on this guy.
Yeah, exactly. And then I got to meet him a couple times briefly at other conventions. Tatine invited me to go drawing with them in Berlin. And I got so scared that I was just like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And so I like kicked myself in the ass for not doing it, because I think it would have been a cool experience. But like you were saying, like every time I've encountered him, it's been
crazy open, this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Craziness. All the people I know that got tattooed by him, they were like, hey, you're using a single needle? And he goes like, yeah, here, put on some gloves, use it. You check out my setup. You didn't use it on yourself. Or just people who was like, oh, Jesus, you're working with that big Magnum? Yeah, sure. Put on some gloves and try a little bit on my customer. You know, really, yeah? Super open. And also in anything. And super welcome, always open. And also the innovations he put in just a big Magnum, it kind of came from him, I think. But he has an open mind, so he doesn't stick to the stuff he knows. He's like, oh, maybe you can make this better. You know, he lives in fucking Switzerland. Everything's fucking crazy expensive there.
Right.
So if you want to get tattooed from him, there's a lot of money. Also for people who come from places where you don't have that high standard and money. So he figured out a way, okay, I can do a back piece in 15 hours. But I have to make a big Magnum for that because otherwise I cannot do it. So it make it more accessible for people who don't have the time or the money for that. So you have to be an open mind.
Right.
He's super open. That's super inspiring. I remember I was at the first Tokyo convention. I didn't work there, but I went there, which was a crazy experience by itself. I remember he had a clipcord sleeve. I never saw that. But he took... if you go into a warehouse, or you know, a store, they have like sleeves you can put over your umbrella because it can get very wet and people always carry umbrellas.
Sure.
And if you take it into the store gets all wet. So you can have a sleeve and you put it over your umbrella so it doesn't leak all through the store. He took that and put it over his clipcord because he didn't want the clipcord to drag all over the big pieces he does and then get
dirty,
dirty over it. So that was the first time I ever saw somebody use a clipcord sleeve was him from some umbrella sleeve that he got from Tokyo Hands or something. You have to be, you go shopping, you think, fucking hell, this thing, I can use it, right? You have to have an open mind all the time.
Yeah.
It never cease to amaze me, basically.
Wow. Did you ever go to visit him there?
I was very fortunate to get tattooed from him. The first time I got tattooed was at the Amsterdam convention where he's working, when Henky Panky put it on and Beurs van Berlage. It's a funny story. I tried it not to make it too long. I really want to get tattooed from Greg. I was an apprentice with Greg, and Greg's also a major fan of the guy. And I need to get a tattoo from this guy. So the only way you can get a tattoo or an appointment is to write a letter to Switzerland. There's no phones, you could only write a letter. So I wrote a letter and I didn't hear anything back. I was like, fuck, man. I waited a couple of months. I was like, I need to get that tattoo from the guy. So I asked my dad, I need to get to Switzerland. So I talked to him long enough and we drove there. So I met Felix, but Philip wasn't there.
Yeah.
And Felix says, oh, Jesus Christ, you come all the way from an appointment, you drive all this, you're crazy. I said, man, but I want to get that too. But anyway, he made the stay worthwhile. It was really nice. And he said, yeah, but Philip's in Japan right now. But here's his phone number from the shop he's working at. So I tried calling it, but yeah, there's a big time difference. So I had to stay up and until the time the shop was open and talk to Hideo Chiyama, who he was working at. So I missed him a couple of times. But then finally got to talk to Hideo. He said, oh, but Philip already left for San Francisco. But he's working at Diamond Club, so you could try there. But that's also a really big time difference. So I had the same thing. Tried a couple of times. No, Philip's not in right now. Maybe you should try later. I was like, okay, and I try. And so I finally called there. I said, yeah, he's here, but he's leaving for Europe. And so he's getting in a taxi. I was like, oh, Jesus. Okay. So I knew he was going to Amsterdam to work at the convention. I was like, Jesus, I need to get in early because I want to get tattoo from him, and I don't want anybody to be there before me. So I was lucky that little Vinnie Myers, he is a friend of Greg's, and he was working at the convention too at that time.
Right.
So it's like, and can I get a hold of Vinny? Because then I can sneak in early and I can then help him with his, set up his booth. I don't know. And Vinny says, sure. So I walked in and there was nobody there. And I walked up to Vinny because I knew him before. And he said, oh, you want to get tattooed for Philip? I said, you go now. And Philip was by himself, like staring into space. I was like, hey, and I was the first guy to get tattooed from that convention. That was crazy good experience. And later I got my arm finished, in Switzerland. So it was incredible. That was good. Yeah, really good. And he did the same thing with the watercolor pencil. Yeah. And then he took a brush and Indian ink and he painted the lines on me and then tattooed it. Wow. I was like, Jesus, just one wipe, it's all gone. Yeah, it's so crazy. And just make like a sleeve on me. Wow. That was mind blowing.
It's incredible. Yeah. And to think, most of us can't do anything without a perfect stencil.
No. I feel much safer. Yeah, sure. It's really crazy.
Mm-hmm. But it really says a lot to like the dedication and persistence that you have. And I think that was a mindset maybe 15, 20 years ago, like this mindset of I'm dedicated to this one person getting tattooed. And I don't know, most of the times now you get phone calls at the shop. They're like, can you tattoo me today?
Yeah.
No, but I have a space tomorrow. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, it's true. So it's true. But anyway, it's also, it's true. It's weird. On the other hand, it's also, the journey that it adds to the worth of the tattoo, the effort you have to put into it to get it. Right. It's just, it's a quest. And yet with the quest, there's a pot of gold. It doesn't matter what it is you're looking for, right? Mm-hmm. If you finally have it. That makes it a very good adventure to get it. Just to say one thing about Philip, you expect it to be some mystical experience or something, but he's a super down-to-earth guy. Mm. One of the funniest things was that the old shop they had was like, how do you say, 3 stories high around the back.
Okay.
Yeah, they say about tattoo shops like, oh yeah, you cannot find it, and they had that. There was, if you were in front of the building, what it was in, you couldn't see it. There was no neon signs, you have to figure it out.
Right.
And then, you walked up the stairs, there's a poster here. It must be somewhere close. And then you walk up the stairs, there's more posters. I must be in the right direction. And you come to the front door of the old shop and it was plastered with all the stickers of all the crazy good tattoo shops from all over the world on the door. There was painting on the door and stuff, but that was like a mecca or something. You're like, oh, Jesus, everybody been here.
It's like a tattoo altar in a way.
Yeah. I was standing in front of the door. I rang it and I was waiting for it to open. There was a guy coming up the stairs and I looked at him and said, okay, it's another guy. And he was next to me, had a baseball jacket on and tight jeans and a cap. And then the door opened and I looked aside. I was like, oh shit, it's Philip. But he didn't look like Philip because, when you see him on a picture, he's always, especially then he had a really wide hippie hat and white pants and stuff and there's his long hair. But on the street, he didn't have that at all. He just had a baseball cap on and tight jeans. So I didn't recognize him at all. I was waiting there and then he changed. Then there was Philip all of a sudden, right? With his hat but it makes so much sense because you don't want tattoo in your tight jeans. No. Your balls get tight and I don't know, it's true.
I only tattoo in tight jeans.
Huh?
I only tattoo in tight jeans.
No, but it's not, the guy had like hippie pants on because it's nicer. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I heard he has a really big dick anyway. Somebody told me. But, so it's more difficult for him. But he's got long hair. You don't want to be your hair in the machine or in the tattoo or in the, so it has to be out of the way. So you put on a hat and the whole thing is, it was so well thought out, much more than you would expect that the free and the loose thing that you see. It also has a function. It's really interesting, interesting.
So when you first started to open up your own shop, did you take some of those experiences that you had seen with Philip and Did you integrate any of this into what you were thinking of?
I worked as an apprentice with Greg, and then I worked with him for, I think, I had like, in my opinion, a really classical apprenticeship. I always feel it was like a Karate Kid thing, where you had to, wax in, wax out stuff, just to do all the stuff around it and make needles and, and talk to people and clean the shop. And at the time there was also kind of a little bit of a gangster vibe to deal with that. I was like fresh out of art school, so that was kind of freakish until he fired me. Kind of. Also funny. I was fired because he wanted the shop to have another direction. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. I kept it. And then I got tattooed from Philip in Switzerland. Yeah. I said, "How's it doing? How's Greg doing?" He said, "Yeah, he fired me." He said, "Oh, you were fired? I was fired once." I was like, "Who the fuck would fire Philip Lou?" I said, "Don't let Hardy fired me." And I was like, "Oh well," So it happened. It was nice for him to say that it happened to him as well. It's not a defeat. It's just something that happens. I got fired at the same time with the guy who was working with Greg. So we decided to open up our own place, and that was basically just a street shop, but in a smaller town. And it was nothing of that free nature that Philip has set it up. You in the old shop you walked in, there was a museum, was like plastered from the floor onto the wall, onto the ceiling, onto the floor, is like full with drawings and photos and stuffed animals at Philip's place. And I'm just a Dutch guy, man. I did this. I don't want to go too crazy, so we had a regular shop. An approach to the art, though, for sure, it's always been very influential on the stuff that I make to this day. Interesting. And I did that for about 4 years, and then I felt too cramped in that little corner of the universe, and in your own shop. And it was great because it was a very successful place. But I need to get out there and travel around a little bit.
Right. And how long ago was this when you started to kind of thinking about making those changes? Was it recent or? No.
I like 25 years ago, I started with Greg, then worked there for like 3.5 years or something, 4 years. Then had the shop together with Peter for about 4 or 5 years.
Right.
I was lucky to have some good guest artists coming, like Bill Canales. Oh, wow. He's now, from San Diego. Worked in El Paso then. And Theo Jack.
Yeah.
He probably...
We know Theo.
You met him?
Yeah.
I love the guy. Stayed at my house for half a year, stuff like that. And so that was great. But then I decided to travel. So that's about 8 years, and I think something like this. And then worked everywhere and nowhere. Worked with Errol in Rotterdam a little bit. Worked with Luke's place a little bit, and Stuttgart. So, also it's like super, super inspiring. Worked even a little bit in Japan with Hideo, here and there. And with Theo also when he worked at East Street Tattoo in Stockholm.
Right.
So, it was an amazing time.
Incredible. Yeah, I love hearing the stories. I love hearing the history, I guess.
For me, it's my history.
Yeah,
any significance in the big thing.
But I think it's a good contribution to, everybody else's history as well. It's another branch of the tree.
It has definitely got a lot of good stories. Tattooing, funny shit. I love listening to podcasts like Joe Rogan. Although that's been going on about political correctness in the U.S. That's forever, and that gets kind of old. The thing is that you can have a way to conserve these stories, to keep them.
Yes.
Because otherwise it's just, an oral transmission among each other, like the history before it was written.
Sure.
But sometimes it's a shame that some of these stories not get archived or something.
Yeah. And I think the cool thing about the podcasting is that you can archive them without fear of any sort of like censorship from like a commercial sense. It's like,
no, sure, that's great. That's great. And it's also, if you have to really archive some history and you have to put it in folders and put it in some library, then it gets dusty and boring.
Right.
This is more lively. Some of the, like Theo, for instance, there's a lot of good stories on Theo Jack.
We're going to have to reel him in here.
You have to get in some extra memory because he will talk for hours. I love to talk with him. We have always a good time. And you can talk about any subject at all, whether it's the cosmos or I don't know, anything. So it's really good.
Yeah, we usually talk about conspiracy theories the last time
that
we met. We went down some rabbit holes and we were like, all right, we should just talk about something different now.
That's a great guy.
Do you have anything that you have plans for the future that you might want to share with us, or like whoever might be listening?
Oh my God, the future.
I mean, it doesn't have to be fixed. It's just
I understand.
What directions you want to take yourself.
Okay, I try aim at a certain point at the horizon, and then maybe I don't end up there, but I need some direction. That I like to do it for myself. But at the moment, I'm going to some personal stuff. And that upsets the whole balance. And so I have to find a new equilibrium in working and functioning. So it's really difficult to envision a future beyond that.
Right.
Yeah, I talked to Bill Canales last night, and he's one of my very dear friends. And I admire him a lot because he's having great thing going for himself. And he puts out the San Diego Invitational Tattoo Convention.
Right.
I'm lucky to be invited this year. So I was last year, but I was like in a bad place in my mind. So I couldn't go. But I definitely want to go this year. And just to be around that guy and the energy he puts out, and to do maybe, I don't know, collaborations. And you just brought it up. It's interesting because I haven't done it for a while, to work with people and to get on one thing together. The thing is, I'm really lucky. The shop that I have, Oneness, is more of I've been sitting there for quite a while. It's been, I don't know, at least like 12 years or something that I'm working on it and staying in one place. The great thing about it is that it generates like bigger work.
Sure.
If you stay in one place, that helps a lot. So I'm really fortunate to have a couple of people who want full body stuff. A couple of people working on, and that's amazing to work on.
Yeah.
I just recently bought a book from Adrian Lee. It's from San Francisco, I think.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. The way he approaches stuff. And the way he just makes a concept together with the person who gets tattooed, and they really figure it out beforehand.
Yes.
Make the design completely finished beforehand, totally true to the concept, and just to follow that. The way he does that, follows it up, and his path, I think, is even the book is called something with a path. It's very inspiring to me. That would be some kind of goal.
More larger
go
bodysuit.
More in deep with the person you are tattooing, and develop a visual concept out of it. And it doesn't really matter the style in some way. You can approach the concept in different style that fits the person. And that's something that's very inspirational, and I would aspire to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
That'd be great.
That's something up my alley. I'd really like to see what you come up with that.
Yeah, me too.
Really cool. I think we can wrap it up. I'd like to thank you, but also, where can we find you? You're on Instagram.
My Instagram is Darko Oneness. O of Darko and O of Oneness is 1 It's the same letter.
Okay.
And Oneness Studio is our shop. You can basically find Vince and other people working with us, which I'm very proud of these guys, the person who worked with me. I'm very happy to work with them.
Yeah, and thanks for letting Vince come and visit us so often.
It's good. Yeah, it's good for everybody, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I think so.
I always love having fresh ideas and stuff.
Yeah, it's great. And there's also a website called Darko's Oneness, .nl for Holland. And we try to have every week an item in our blog, and so you can keep up to date what we're doing.
Wonderful.
Great.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm happy that I got to meet you this way, I guess. Get right into it.
I think it's more you go for a drink, you talk about, I don't know, about the weather and stuff like that. And this is more to the point. I like that a lot.
I appreciate that as well. You're just like, fuck all that bullshit.
We'll just right. There's small talk. Forget about it. I like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.